But that question is usually hiding about 4 more questions. One of the most common questions I get is, how often can I pin the same URL? But that question is usually hiding about 4 more questions. Those are, how many pins should I post? How often can I reuse the same URL, which is the initial question? Should I space those out, or can I pin them all in the same day? Why would you? And does scheduling them with a scheduling tool affect performance? Or can I use a scheduling tool? Can I use a scheduling tool to tweak my images? Do I have to change them? How often do I need to create new images? Honestly, it's more than 4 questions it's hiding, but that's the gist of it. The truth is, these are not separate questions. They are part of how Pinterest distributes your content over time, and ultimately the same question. It's just answered in many different ways. So today I'm actually going to talk to you about how Pinterest actually handles your URLs, the pins themselves, scheduling, and I'm going to leave you with a thought at the end. So Pinterest ranks pins, not URLs. Okay, let me say that one more time before we dive in. Pinterest ranks pins, not URLs. I have an example. We're going to put it on the screen for you to see. And I searched for chocolate chip cookies for this example because I knew that I would get the results that I got. Now, in this example, there are 2 different creators that have results for the same exact keyword showing up twice. So you can see in yellow, there are 2 pins from a creator named Sarah Fennell. And then you can see in like the purple color, there's 2 pins that are ranking from Ambitious Kitchen. Both of them link to the same recipe, both of them rank for the same keyword, and they are taking up multiple spots at the very top of the search results for this arguably very broad keyword, chocolate chip cookies. So you can see that Pinterest indexes each pin individually. Multiple pins can rank for the same URL, as you can see in the example, and this is totally normal behavior for Pinterest. One blog post might generate 10 to 30 different pins over time, or more, in some cases, a lot more. Each pin truly creates a new opportunity for you to find and use a new keyword or a different keyword and rank for something new, broadening your search discoverability and your audience over time. So let's move on and use skincare or a skincare brand as an example. So imagine a skincare company that sells a line of skincare products, has a blog post, and that blog post is how to build a simple skincare routine for sensitive skin. That one blog post could support tens, even hundreds of pins if you wanted to, because there's lots of different ways that people are searching for skincare routines, especially related to sensitive skin. There's lots of different conditions that make skin sensitive. So in that regard, the audience themselves are going to be self-selecting depending on their need. But let's say I have a list of examples here for you, actually. Let's say these examples are what people search for. Simple skincare routine for sensitive skin. That's the basis of the blog post, right? Beginner skincare routine. Pretty basic, pretty broad. It's a good entry point. Minimal skincare routine for glowing skin. Minimal being if someone has sensitive skin, they don't want to use too many ingredients or too many products because it could make their skin flare. All right? Skincare routine for dry, sensitive skin. Notice the type of sensitive skin that I inserted. Or daily skincare routine steps. And you could alter that with sensitive skin if you wanted to. Every one of those pins, if you were to create a pin for those keywords, could link to the exact same blog post depending on what's in the blog post. And you could post those pins once a week for 5 weeks, twice a week for 2.5 weeks. You could post them once a month for 5 months if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter. The spacing ultimately does not matter. What matters is the discovery pathways that you're creating with your keyword research and the keywords that you discover that link to your content that bring you the new audiences. So let's talk about how this connects to volume or pin volume more specifically, because that is kind of the crux of this whole question, because people ask this question because they ultimately want to pin as much as they can without having to create more content. So when people ask how many pins they should post per day or per week, what they're really asking is how often do they have to create new pins for their content. Now, they have the same URL. My advice is always to create fresh pins, but there's like an underlying question. Can I pin the same pin to multiple boards? And this is where I think so many people just get confused and they get lost in the sauce or lost in the advice of so many different Pinterest experts and what is working for them. So ultimately, the answer is always, or should always be, what is working for your account. And if you don't know, then you should watch my analytics deep dive video to figure out what's working for your account, and then come back and ask that question again. So ultimately, there's no universal magic number. I'm sorry, there's not. Please do not put a gun to my head, because I'm not going to give you one. What matters more is really keyword usage and how many opportunities you are presenting for that URL. This is why I tell you to make fresh pins. Even if you have one blog post or if you have 10 blog posts, how many different keywords are people searching for related to that one URL that you could use and multiply the number of pins? And now you have so many different entry points to the same URL. Using the skincare brand example again, imagine this brand publishes that sensitive skincare post. Typical distribution might be like week 1, we publish 2 pins linking to the blog post. Week 3, after publishing the blog post, maybe 1 new pin goes out with a different design. Week 6 comes along, 6 weeks after publishing the blog post, you publish a new pin targeting a brand new keyword related to the blog post. Week 12 comes along and you publish an additional slate of pins targeting 4 new keywords. Let's say it's 4 new pins at week 12, targeting 4 new keywords, and you publish those over the series of a few weeks. You've now published, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 pins to 1 blog post over 12 weeks. That's pretty good. Of course, you can up the ante if you want to. It's up to you, but it's not about duplication. It's about distribution. And it's also about diversification of keywords. Okay, so let's talk about another issue that comes up when we have this conversation. Pin spacing and why it matters. So a common question is, can I pin the same URL multiple times a day? Of course, you can. And the question is always, well, how many? How many will get me banned for spam? Well, how many are you wanting to create? Come on now. Like 200, 400? Like, what are we talking here? Because the question seems outrageous at its root. Because I don't think the majority of people who ask this question are really going to be creating hundreds of pins for the same URL in the same day. We're just not doing that. We can barely do that in a month, much less in a day. So that's why my answer is always, well, how many pins can you make? How many pins can you make that are high quality that link to the same URL? And then the second question is, why would you want to pin them all in the same day? Why not spread them out? And the answer is usually, well, I don't have very many URLs. Okay, so you can see where this conversation kind of goes in circles. So spacing pins really helps Pinterest to distribute your content, get it out to audiences, but it also helps you to show up consistently on the platform without gaps in distribution. Pinterest wants to see fresh images. They've told us this for years. The new content, the new imagery, the new keywords helps to index you further, helps to diversify your keyword search discovery capability. If someone publishes 10 pins to the same URL in one day, it's going to look a lot spammier than if you were to publish 10 pins over 5 weeks to the same URL. All right, so again, back to the skincare brand example. If they're focused on creating one graphic for the sensitive skincare routine, and that's the only graphic that they create, then chances are the distribution's not going to be very good. But if they create one graphic for routine, where it's like an infographic talking about the routine, another graphic talking about the ingredients or the education around ingredients and what helps the sensitive skin, then they create another graphic recommending products to help the focus of the sensitive skin issue. And then the other pin, the fourth image, is recommendation for routine guidance, like morning and nighttime routines and the differences in products used in each. Those 4 pins are more likely to see distribution because you are using different keywords, you're targeting different people in the audience, you're using different images, and they're getting distributed out, hopefully, routinely through your Pinterest scheduling. Okay, that actually brings me to the next point. But before we move on, I just want to say this one thing. So every single Pinterest pin that you make gives Pinterest another opportunity to put you in front of the right audience. So why wouldn't you want to make more pins instead of just saving the same pin over and over, right? Because this conversation usually hinges on, well, can I save the pin to multiple boards? There's really no point, okay? There's no point to save it to multiple boards. Just create more pins. Moving on to scheduling, because that is a hot topic in this conversation. A lot of people wonder if scheduling tools will help or hurt their Pinterest strategy when it comes to this kind of distribution, especially if they go and make, let's say, 10 pins for one URL. Well, how are they going to schedule those out? What does the distribution look like? When you're using the Pinterest scheduler, the free one, you're limited to 30 days of distribution in advance. When you're using a third-party scheduler like Tailwind, for example, then you can schedule for months in advance if you wanted to. You could probably schedule up to a year. I don't really know the max, but I'm sure that Tailwind could tell me. Pinterest doesn't penalize you for using a scheduling tool. They never have. The only time they penalize you for using a scheduling tool is prior to the API being opened up to anyone. The only scheduling tools that were available were the ones that were following the API and connected to it, like Tailwind. They're the original. The platform, being Pinterest, it encourages consistent publishing, obviously. They're a marketing platform. Every marketing platform is going to encourage and reward consistency. Schedulers obviously make it really easy for you to manage the volume that you might maintain. And some people might choose to publish 5 pins a day, 10 pins a day, 20 pins a day. Some people might choose to publish 1 pin a day. If you're in the 1 to 5 pin a day mark, just use the free one, okay? Just use the free scheduler on Pinterest. Once you get past that like 5 pins a day mark, I would say you probably have graduated into paid scheduling software territory. And that might be where you use a tool like Tailwind, Virally, Planoly, Later, and all the rest. There's so many of them now. But what I want you to remember when it comes to scheduling tools is that Pinterest evaluates the performance of the pin, the reach of the pin, what the pin is doing on an individual level. And that includes obviously relevance, engagement of the pin, the keywords that you used on the pin, the imagery that you used in the pin. There's like all of those little factors that go into it. The better the pin does right away, the more reach it's gonna get like right away and over time as well. The one last consideration that I wanted to talk to you about in relation to this conversation is usually when someone asks how many times can they pin the same URL, what's really underneath is that they don't have very many URLs to work with. And that's okay. I mean, if you have a few URLs and that's what you're working with, then make your pins and go about your day. But chances are you probably are creating more content. You're creating more URLs. You're distributing your free offers in the form of lead magnets or workshops or webinars. You're distributing your paid products. You're creating blog content that supports the marketing ecosystem. That's not just a pinning issue though. If you don't have very many URLs, it's a content strategy issue. Only have 1 or 2 blog posts or just a couple product pages. Trying to build an entire marketing strategy on a very limited number of URLs with a very limited amount of content that's going to help someone make a purchase from you. Most buyers really need more than that. They need a way to discover the topic. They need a way to learn about the problem. They then need a way to understand the solution. And then they need to feel ready to purchase from you. And that just simply doesn't happen from a couple blog posts. So the last consideration for you to think about is to create more content. I'm not telling you that you have to go and create 200 blog posts, but I am telling you that you need more than just a handful. Now let's pull it all together. So here's what just a really simple Pinterest system might look like. First, you create a piece of content that might be a product page. It could be a blog post. Second, you create multiple pins linking to that same URL, but you dissect that piece of content and you look at all the different angles inside the piece of content and you decide what keywords you want to target, what titles and text overlays you want to write for this piece of content. And then you create those multiple URLs based on those different angles. Third, once those pins are made, once the pin copy is created, you put them into a scheduler and you space them out over time and you pin them to the various different boards. Not every angle is going to require the same exact board. Okay? So if you create a sensitive skincare blog post, then one of your pins might go to a board about routines, one of your pins might go to a board about products, one of your pins might go to a board about solutions. Fourth is obviously getting them scheduled, and Pinterest really over time is going to see all of these pieces of content and it's going to build that authority out based on the keywords you're using, the boards that you're creating on your profile, the topics and the authority that you are amassing. So really at the end of the day, it's about creating multiple discovery points for each piece of content. So this whole video is not about me discouraging you from creating multiple pins for the same URL. In fact, I want you to do that. But I also want you to be thinking about how many other pieces of content you could create very strategically that help more people find their way into your ecosystem, help more people to distinguish what the solutions are for the problem, and then help more people feel ready to buy from you. If you'd like me to create a video actually on like buyer journey examples, leave a comment in the video down below and I will take it into consideration and possibly create a video on the channel kind of detailing what that might look like. But I'm hoping that you walk away from this video feeling like empowered to create more content, not necessarily like feeling the doom and gloom of, oh no, I have to create more content, but like feeling like you want to because it's the right thing to do for your audience to help get them over the finish line. For more Pinterest marketing strategy and tips, head on over here and watch some of these videos or join me in Pin Profit Academy. In the meantime, I'll see you in one of those places.